G'day, good evening. Matt here with the Treading Barefoot Retirement Planner. I've put this retirement planner together based on a Microsoft template just to give you an understanding of how your super increases over the years from your age now till your age of retirement, and how your interest accumulates and your yearly savings accumulates. Bit of a word of warning, again, I'm not a financial advisor, so if you do want some advice on your future earnings from your super, please go see a professional. This is just a bit of fun to see how things accumulate over time and help us understand barefoot step number 5, which is supercharging your wealth, where we're going to look at additional salary sacrifice contributions, and also barefoot step number 8, nailing your retirement number. What I really like about this spreadsheet is that it shows you how compound interest works. And Scott talks about this in the book about compound interest. He quotes Albert Einstein, in fact, saying compound interest is the 8th wonder of the world. So we're going to look at how interest is accumulated, let's say, over the next 25 years, 35 years as you're earning, and how that boosts your wealth. So let's get into it. We've got Bruce here. I've got Bruce down as 40 years old with an annual income of 100 grand, just to nicely round it off. Some other information I've already got in the spreadsheet. So we've got annual inflation increase a year. I've just put that down as a 1%. And we've got Bruce at 40 years old with a retirement savings balance currently at 125 grand. Now, annual savings increase, we're going to say there's just a 1% increase on his savings. That's what he's going to get, basically 1% maybe on his salary. And investment return, I've put down at a modest 6%. If you look at the Host Plus over the last 20 years, they're at about 8% as well. But we're just going to put it down at 6%, see what that does to the numbers. So if we look at the running total below at the moment, we can see that at 40 years old, with a salary of 100 grand, Bruce has got 125 grand in the bank account and is earning 7.5 grand interest on that. No savings yet because we haven't filled that criteria in for his contributions. But if we just look at how it's compounding, we can see seven grand a year turns into 10 grand, and then 12 grand, then 15 grand, and then it really starts to boost up throughout his 60s till it gets to 64 at 30 grand interest per year, giving Bruce a total balance at retirement of 500,000. So if Bruce stops working now with 125 grand in, he'll get 500,000 on the calculations. And Scott in the book has a sheet that shows this. It shows someone working from, I think it's from maybe 15 to 21, and then not working again, and then how that accumulates, and they end up with like 2 million by the time they retire. So this is the beauty of compound interest. We're going to show you what happens when we start to put Bruce's earnings into this now. So let's say employee contributions per annum on 100 grand, 9.5%. That's easy to work out. That's why I did it, basically. I'm going to leave salary sacrifice contributions just a minute, just so we can show you what the benefit that does to the totals. Tax on contribution. So that tax on contribution, it wants 15% on that, isn't it? So that's equal, this cell times 0.15. So we're paying 1,425 on the tax. Superannuation per tax total. That's going to add up these columns here. We're not going to worry about that. Any other post-tax contributions, so you can add in, say at the end of the year, if you want to add in another 2 grand into your super, you can add that in. And then we've got these super subtotal contributions, so that's going to add up all these. So we've got currently the subtotal contributions at 8,000 at the moment, boosting because I've took off the tax at the moment. Now I'm going to take off some other deductions as well. So death insurance per annum, I'm going to put that down as, say that's 600. permanent disability, I'll just put half in, just putting figures in here to see how it works. Any income protection, I'm not going to put any income protection in for Bruce. Superannuation yearly fee, I'm going to put the Horse Plus fee in for that, $78. And if you're on index balance, there's no administration fee, so I'm going to keep that in there. So we're saying that currently Bruce is contributing $7,000 per year. Now you might say that these figures will come off the total figure, including the interest per year, but for ease of calculations to see how it works, I've just put the figures in, deducting from his employee contributions, so we can get down to basically 7,000 a year as what Bruce is contributing, and that annual savings goes across to here. You can see that that's dropped in, and now we can see the yearly savings dropping in here to the calculation spreadsheet. So we're adding 7,000 on his yearly savings, and so quite quickly the interest outweighs his yearly savings quite quickly. So now we've got up to 900,000 by the time Bruce is 64. That's what he should have in his retirement balance. Again, this is just calculations in the spreadsheet forecasting. There's so many things and so many variables that could go into forecasting this for the future, but it's just a bit of fun just to give you an idea of how things work. So if you say let's knock Bruce's down to say he's just got 50,000 in. So Bruce is just coming out with 596 now, because he's only got 50,000 in, and we say, well, is that enough to live on? So what does he want? Well, he wants, let's say, an income replacement, 100 grand a year. Let's say he wants 70% of that replacement. And let's say he's earning 6% after retirement on his money as well. So you can see now that with 80 grand, that's what he wants, his income replacement, which is his final figure, his final salary figure, 126 grand. And he wants, what did we say? We said 70% of that. Bruce is going to run out of money pretty quickly. Bruce is going to, there it goes. There's a calculation. It says, oops, this plan will only cover you to the age of 73. You'll need to make some additional adjustments. Okay, so let's make those adjustments now. So let's say that we're going to put 15% in to the contribution. So we need another 5,500. Like Scott says, he does say in the book, where he tries to scare you a little bit, where you got to make sure that you've got enough money for your retirement, and that's why we're putting in 15%. So we've put in additional 5,500 to get us to 15%, and we're coming out with 12.5 grand our contributions. So that's going across to this column over here. 12.5 grand there, and we're going to knock this income replacement down a bit. So sorry, Bruce, you can't live off $90,000 in retirement. We're going to knock you down to 60% of that. So now this plan will get him to age 84, and he'll have 76,000 a year on his retirement. Well, Bruce, what's that? So maybe $7,000 a month. We'll just make another adjustment here down to 50% of his income. So that gets us, congratulations, at age 89, you now have a super balance of 315 grand. So you're leaving a legacy of 315,000 after your retirement. So you can see now how it's calculating all the way through. So there we go. Those are the earnings. He's going to have $64,000, just under 5.5 grand a month to spend. That's why Scott says you must own your own home in retirement, so you don't have to pay for your rent, or you don't have to pay for your mortgage, and you've come to live on, what's that, 5,500 a month, so just over $1,000 a week. But we knocked Bruce's savings balance down to 50 grand there, didn't we? If we put that back up to 100, I think we had him at 120, didn't we, before? So now, at age 89, Bruce has a super balance of 1.6 million. So you can play around with these figures and you can understand how you want to do in your retirement. just for a bit of fun, really, and see what your situation is, and get a good understanding of what this employee salary sacrifice contribution does to supercharge your wealth up to 15%. So I hope this helps understand a bit of retirement planning. Please do see a professional if you're really concerned about this. This is just a bit of fun for our Treading Barefoot Facebook group. Thank you. Talk soon.